And I will like to welcome Professor D.P. Agrawal, the former chairman of UPSC and our honorable member of Board of Governors MITS, to this webinar. Actually, Professor D.P. Agrawal does not require any introduction.
So I'll start right away.
But as it is customary, so I will just read.
I think it's over. Don't do that. Most of my friends know me, so not an issue. Just leave at that and just tell me what you expect.
It's a pleasure, sir, to have you here, and all the past experiences with you, like whenever you have been here to guide us just before the accreditation, and also your insightful guidance has helped us a lot, sir. And we have all taken notes and working on it, and as we were just discussing that these are very difficult times, not just for the technical education, but for humanity in general.
Yeah.
And never before such a situation has come. And because the show must go on, so everybody is trying to, keep, the things moving under these circumstances. So, sir, we'll like to have your views and your guidance on the challenges which technical education faces due to this.
Thank you very much. I think whenever there is chance to talk to MITS friends,
yes,
it's always very interesting. Especially being part of my own being. When I was in Gwalior and became member and chairman UPSC, I told people that contribution of Gwalior to my life is enormous. And whatever I can do back to Gwalior and their people, it shall be my first duty. And that carries on me to continue with MITS Gwalior. If you permit, I'll use my slides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sure. Whatever you feel comfortable, sir.
This only give me a help.
Yes, sir.
Firstly, my friends, that we are at a very difficult time. And these are not our own making. Now, something for which we are generally aware, we do take some precautions. We do try to be a little careful. But you get something which you really didn't know. And not even the world knew that the impact is going to be so massive that it will destroy and destruct almost everything. You would remember as academics that when I came almost before the lockdown,
yes, sir.
It was, I thought, 17, 18 March.
Yes, sir.
Look at your neck. I didn't realize that for 4.5 months, 5 months, I'll be completely locked in, can't go out. So survival was difficult. And we didn't know how it will happen. And I recall every day I would see the number of cases at that time occurring. First time it was 3,000, we said, wow, it has gone so much. We never realized that we'll touch a figure of 90,000 per day. And on top of it, we still believe that actual number could be many, many large. But the challenge before you, my friends academics, is that they were young students who were waited there and they were trying to move on. So let me look at this scenario and try to see some of the aspects which probably must have missed the point. But I'm quite sure that all of you have done your best. So please don't consider that whatever I'm saying, that you have not done. You must be doing many, many things. But many times I look at things quite differently than you look at. Not from a criticism point of view, but from point of view that I bring you a different perspective. Because my connect with this country is so large that in the last almost 10 days, I spoke at 5 universities about national education policy. And each one of them would ask me to speak on a very different aspect. For example, I spoke the other day for Hari Singh Gaur University in Madhya Pradesh. And they were asking me, sir, please tell us what is in it for students. Everybody talks something else, but is there something for students? Somebody asked me what are the challenges to implement that. Somebody asked me to give me a broader picture. And some are interested to know whether higher education at all would change. So two things has happened. Number one, we had pandemic. And pandemic has been a destructive effect because it did not allow mobility. But simultaneously, another thing has happened, and which happened on almost the first 29th of July, that a new education policy has come. What is actually called as a National Policy on Education. 2020 has come. So today when I'm talking to you, it's a scenario where you are affected by pandemic, but you are ready to unfold your actions for National Policy on Education. So let me start looking at some of the issues. My first issue is because of pandemic, what has happened, which is known to you. It is a major social disruption. I don't consider that it's a disruption only for academics. It's a hugely major disruption. I recall the first day Prime Minister spoke, and he said, he cautioned all of us that be careful, and especially people like me who are on the higher side of age, senior citizen. We were to actually be confined. An interesting thing was that we all believed that nothing will happen to children, nothing is going to happen to young people, and nothing was going to happen to those who did not have any comorbidity. But the situation is that in this country, if you look at the data, 60% of people who are diseased are not with comorbidity, are not the older people, but the young people in the age group of 15, 16. Nobody believed it. So therefore, it is such a social disruption that it has not given us what we predicted. So something which is unpredictable, something we did not know what happened. If you remember the other day in the parliament, the minister said, there are questions. Is this virus is changing, is mutating? It's a fact that there are symptoms, that there are mutations occurring in this coronavirus. So my first point to all of you would be, please be careful. Don't be swayed by anything. Just take your precautions as laid down in the rules. I, of course, urge the institute, and I'll make that point later also, that here is the time where we have to take a tremendous caution. We shouldn't lose anybody of us. We are very precious people. You as an academic is a very precious commodity. We are going to build future of this nation. And I don't want to see that any of you are lost. So my earnest request to you, that is a major disruption, it's a social disruption. Accept this as it is. Don't become too much of a fleshy person. Take it at a lying low. This is the time when you should relax, take lying low, do your duties the best, but with a lot of precautions. Now this impact will not be only for one semester which has gone. This impact will not be for this semester which is coming in. This impact, people believe, if at all the vaccine comes, will not be before the next semester end. And look at the people who are affected in the world. If you try to put these vaccines to people, this will take another year or two. That means we are going to struggle for at least 3 to 4 years now. So don't think that this will go away. Anybody who thinks that vaccine aaya and things have become okay, this is unlikely to happen. But the fact still remains. Student will learn. You will continue to guide them and teach them. Student will take competitive exams. Student will take job exams. And the life will go on as Manjiri said. So it's a theater where one who is participating in it is at a risk. One who is an actor is taking a lot of risk. And the audience itself is at risk. So if you understand that particular situation, our actions would be much better. The third point is that, though it's a fact, that we have gone negative 24% on GDP. And there are people who are talking about recovery time. Leave aside us, while we might say anything in the world that we are the best. But the fact remains that we are still not the top economy. US even the best economies where this negative has been about 1%, 2%, 9%. They are believing themselves that will take 7 to 8 years. So even if I take that figure and be more optimistic, being the best government today, we may take at least 5 years to come out of it. The impact would be tremendous. Impact would be that the government money, which was available to do many other things, may not actually be available even if they want to. They would be utilizing it for purposes of people to survive. If you recall, in the last 4 or 5 months, all that has happened, even in a hospital, that we are trying to look at the coronavirus patients. The impact in hospitals has been that the normal disease people, the people with heart attacks, people with cancer, people with normal other ailments are suffering, and there are no for them to go into the hospital. There are stories where people are suffering because nobody is willing to see them. Not that the doctor doesn't want to see you, but the rules are such that you have to go through the corona test first, and when the results come, only they'll accept you, they will look at you. So it takes time. So the situation is that there is a financial meltdown. It's not actually a slowdown, it's a complete meltdown. It has not happened in the history of India ever. We have never had a negative GDP growth. I don't recall even the wartime in 71, 62, we did not have a negative growth. So we are on a negative curve. To go to zero and to the up, minimum of 5 years would be required. And the impact is circulated money would be too small. It will be the money which is not available with the students. It will be money not available with the parents. It is the money not available in the institution. It will not be the money available to anybody else. So please understand the impact is going to be much bigger, whatever might say. An obvious impact would be that the parents and students are going to choose the courses which they can afford. Till now, they were taking courses where they would like to afford it through bank loans by selling properties and trying to take courses which are expensive and trying to go to the institutions which are expensive, trying to go to the places. This, in my view, will not happen. This year's admission would show you, and I'll make that point completely later also, that the admissions would be taken by people which are in your neighborhood and to the institutions where fees are fairly low. Other day I was listening to a webinar run by Suchin, and one of the promoter of Ashoka University was speaking, and he said that fees are not coming and we are subsidizing education as much as we can. How long will you subsidize? There are questions abroad in the world that many universities are closing down their shops. In fact, there is a very interesting article which appeared recently that because of this economic meltdown, who will survive? Survive are only those whose earning does not depend on students and those who got a very large endowment. And they are big fish like Stanford, MIT, California, and none in India. There's none in India because they don't have that kind of money. Including if I take one of the private entity being Birla Institute of Technology, even their budget support about 80% by student funding. So please think that this will have a tremendous situation. Therefore, on everybody's mind, survival is a must. Learning would come later. First, you want to survive. And under the conditions when it's difficult to survive, I have to eat food, I have to live, I have to survive. That costs money. And if I have any spare money, I like to use it. Of course, like to use for education. Because that's the possible potential investment which anybody likes to do. And when I have so much of little money and I have to do a lot of investment, I must see that the return on that investment must be the best. So question is not whether MITS is good or bad, or it is GSITS which is good or bad, or IIT which is good or bad. What students are going to look for, that if I invest in this hard time, buy money into this, what would I get? Is there an investment return is possible? I think as an academics, we never look at the issue of return on investment. It is time that we start looking at that. Tomorrow there might be a situation, I'm making a point, or subsequently later, that some of you must be under a lot of pressure. In fact, a study was reported from Delhi schools, and it said that 30% of faculty in Delhi schools are not able to survive. Those in private institutions, because they are appointed for 10 months, salaries were paid over 12 months, and after pandemic, nothing is being paid. So survival is issue even for faculty. So there could be a situation that I have no money to even hire the faculty which I require. In top of it, we all are committing in a big, huge thing that everything can be done online. And we are proving, in fact, we are fighting to each other to prove that we have done the best on online. And you don't know what is going to be impact. And I'll discuss that point later. Interestingly, while everybody is talking so good about the online education, people talk about Byju's. There are 5 big companies in this country. They think they're the best in the world. While the best being Khan Academy and MOOC courses from abroad. But can you still believe that most of these universities are trying their best to open their campuses? Now, if the education online was sufficient, you will appreciate they wouldn't have been wanting to open the universities. So there's some catch in between, that they are so keen to open the university. And that catch one has to understand. It opened in Eastern Asian countries with so much of restrictions. You were taking temperature, you had a mask, you had distancing. And when you do distancing, the class meant for 50 students, takes only 15 students. The timings were such that you were doing efficiently and you were having in one section 90 students because efficiency of education was critical. What will do now? So there are substantive issues. So on one hand, while we are talking about there is a technology available, in fact, Government of India has jumped the line and said in their new policy in education that this will play a great role. But they actually forgot a case which has gone to Supreme Court once, where they opened these open learning distance courses in Chhattisgarh. And all those 75 universities are closed, institutions are closed. And what is now reversely going to happen in new policy in education? Everybody with a NAAC score of 3.2, 3.25 is allowed a distance education. And tell me what will happen then to MIT. If some of these universities such as IIT, if they decide to open a distance education, they will take 120, 300, 400, 500, and they being the best, students will run to them. So where are the students? Please understand, life is going to be difficult. My next point is that we are looking at higher education. There's a discourse talking about higher education. Technical education is one of the components in higher education. Even if you look at the government website, the bulk of the money goes to higher education. Out of that, technical education gets so much of little money out of the total government budget. Have you seen the budget of the Government of India in higher education? We only get not more than 10% ever into technical education. So you can imagine that the role the technical education, which is the job giver, which is the earner for the country, the investment has been very little. That's number one. But then, even you look at the national policy in education, there is no word written on technical education except under professional education, where they have said that they would also become multidisciplinary, multi-entry, multi-exit institutions. I'll touch that point a little later. So if you think anything great has been said on technical education, new policy education, actually nothing has been said. The onus has been put on you. It has said, yes, government want to do 6% of GDP. Honorable Prime Minister commits that he is with the policy. But in the next 2-3 talks, he said, it is for the people to support. It is for the society to support. In fact, very interesting word has been used in national policy education, which is called, we would rely on philanthropy of the people. Where is the philanthropy? Out of 990 universities in the country today, more than half are in private sector, and none of them is in philanthropy except ISC Bangalore and probably earlier days of Birla Institute of Technology. All other are privately provided institutions, single owner institutions. They try to compare with private universities abroad, and all private universities abroad are
Very expensive.
the philanthropic institution. Not a single owner, 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, 40 people of society contributed, and no one single person is the boss of the university. All other private. So even that's not available. So let me try to understand what is the differentiating factor in technical education. Firstly, unlike history, geography, literature, it works on a lot of formulations, theories, scientific manipulations to learn the concepts, the basics, and the intrinsic utility. So when you teach and learn, it puts you a challenge. It's not like you pick up a book, try to explain what Banabhatta said in this particular paragraph or what is written in history. Here you have to prove and show to the students that if you do this manipulation, only this is possible. And if by chance he changes the manipulation, a different result would appear. So that's number one difference. I wouldn't call it, though I have used the word called theoretical formulation, but it is to earn the concepts, to understand the one little formulation difference, one little assumption difference can give you a different solution, which is so different than any other places, including in health, where the education is too much dependent on the physical entity or body, but there's no formulation involved. Here it's a formulation. If temperature changes by 1%, 2%, what will happen? And we know if the global temperature changed by 1%, 10 countries will sink. So engineering in technical education has to deal such catastrophes. If there is a minor change into system, the environment, the temperatures, the pressures, any assumption you make. If you make one simple assumption, the aircraft will come down. If you make one more assumption wrong, your nuclear submarine is sunk. If you do one little wrong calculation in designing the dome of a nuclear power station, everything becomes radioactive. So the risk factor in technical educations are immense. Many of our teachers and young students don't realize that how critical points they acquire. We all tend to confuse and say, everything is theoretical. Baba, this theoretical is no theoretical. This theoretical is the lifetime. If you make one small residual calculation mistake, the blast would occur and the complete nuclear power station would become in such a condition that nobody would survive. So engineering education, the technical education require a precise and correct assumption, understanding of manipulation, which no other kind of education deals with. Yes, I've seen agriculture science deals with, I've seen the law deals with, I've seen even the health deals with, where the life is important, mind you. Diagnosis is critical. But there are methods that the changes, as I said, the catastrophic changes which will occur in technical education does not happen everywhere. Obviously, systems which technical people deals are huge systems. They are dealing with railway networks, they are dealing with the power stations, they are dealing with nuclear power station, they are dealing with missiles, what not? Can you conceive a missile without science technology? It's not possible. Even if you know that this is the reactor which will happen, but you have to make that reactor, the power has to be made. Physics has finished its job, but entity has to be made. So please understand that engineers solve bigger problems. And bigger problem solutions are not teaching Sanskrit, not teaching Hindi. it is doing something big. And it has limitations. And that I'll discuss. 40% of time in our education system on technical education goes on practical work. And what we have done through the teaching online, we have completely missed that 40%. And you know what is the weakness in engineering education in the country? Everybody is saying we are too theoretical. That means the component which we are weaker, we are further gone on weaker side. We did not do anything to become a stronger side. I could have done 20% less, but I have done something better on my weak point, which is not been possible. Project works have been suffered. In fact, we are so engineered that somebody said the internship would also open online. What was the meaning of internship? Internship was to expose you to a working condition in industry where we can't simulate that in our class. For example, if I go to a steel plant, I, in my college, can't even see a point where I do the melting pot and there are all kinds of technology involved. I've never seen in my lifetime. The idea of internship is to expose my young student to a physical entity which actually he is going to deal. I can order something on computer, but I am sure a computer has to be made physically. A washing machine has to be made physically. And physically it has to come to your home. Now that challenge, how come an online internship can be? Yes, it can, if there is a simulator available, it can train you to work what is called as a control room. If you go to power station, I'm sure many of you have seen a thermal power station. In a thermal power station, there is a control room where 7, 10, 8 engineers appear, and there are different kind of meters. And there is a simulator. You can simulate everything on the simulator and you can work there. But actually something happened in the turbine. You have to open that thing. It required time to cool it down. But that we are completely missing. People even have no idea that 1000 Kelvin would mean what? Because the body temperature is how much? The difference between that body temperature and the 1000 Kelvin, which happens in the industry so often, they can't imagine. They can't even imagine when I do welding, the arc welding, my eyes can go completely off. So that's engineering. And that's a technical education. And that appreciation, whatever you virtualization you do, is not possible. We're completely missing design. Because when I design, it has to be implemented. I do a design tool, but I don't know what do I do with the design. Well, interpersonal skills, yes, teacher to student is possible, but we are completely losing a student to student communication. We are losing student to other communication. We are losing faculty to industry communication. We are losing faculty to faculty communication. Here, learning is completely finished. And engineering education, communication is not speaking English, which is a misnomer. Communication in engineering and technical education is to communicate your ideas to a peer group and convince them that what you said is right and that what you said can be made and implemented. And based on your thought, somebody is ready to invest that money and industry runs. So today we are talking about innovation. When we talk about innovation, are we looking somebody in history department? I'm looking somebody who is working in technical education, in a professional education, which will do a lot of innovation. And these innovation has to make innovative products at a cheaper cost and the lower cost. A technical education person required to interact with industry. Because people are saying 20% are employable. And we are fighting it for ourselves that if I make 20% employable, I have to expose them to industry. If you look at the AICT rules, if you look at the Government of India rules, all of them are saying that please place student in the industry. And they have said internship would be for 150 days in a 4-year calendar. How do you meet this? That means we would do a lip service. So this differential aspect is to understand. Where would be experimental research? Can do somebody experimental research? Not possible. I don't see for another 3 years if quality experimental research is done. But very interestingly, I make that point. Pandemic has decided that to fight pandemic, I have to develop vaccine, and vaccine cannot be done without a global teams, and that has to be physically done. Look at the challenge. So on one hand, I have a challenge where I can't do physical research because I can't work in a team so easily on equipment. On other hand, the pandemic requires that I work in a team on a subject area which is so difficult to handle and try to find out this. It's a very complex situation. New product developments will not come. You have to live with products which is there. Yes, people will say lot of simulation can be done, lot of modeling can be done. We all know simulations are limitations, and so are the modeling. They are the first levels of learning and first levels of design. Actually, a prototype is to be made, and based on the prototype results, the simulation has to be corrected, including the best of the AI. Because new policy, national policy in education talks about AI being taught from 6th standard. What will you do if there will not be a data, live data available to train? And this data has to be correct data. It is not that I can train my AI tool with a data which is not correct, which cannot be repeated, which cannot be, data integrity is poor. So please don't run with the confusion that you can create a great simulation. And that is what our research has lost. It has to be interdisciplinary. If I'm a mechanical engineer, I won't survive if I have to do a lot of IoT work. I can't do anything without Manjari being electronics. I can't do anything about computer science. And therefore, if I'm doing IoT, I cannot sit alone as a professor or mechanical engineer. I can do it. I will not. Tomorrow, if I have to do something very good in health, I require a doctor, I require electronics, I require mechanical, maybe something else. So technical education inbuilt is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So national policy in education and higher education has actually said nothing. If you remember Manjari and my other senior friends, that we have been talking about multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary for almost 6-7 years.
Yes.
When choice-based curriculum came first time, and I was advising Rajiv Gandhi Technical University, we have started talking about that. But many of you won't agree. But today now, you have to deal with what the government has said. And I cautioned you 6 years ago on this. So speaking very recently, somebody said, sir, we are sorry we didn't listen to you now. Then, now we are going to suffer. So the idea is that we are dealing with interdisciplinarity, we are dealing with industry links, we are trying to get money from the research, we are trying to build team. That you are doing. And that all has come to zero during pandemic. Now, let me also look at what the campus was. All university college campuses have a very vibrant culture. They are young students, they are faculty, they coexist together, they live together, they are so close to each other, they listen each other's noise, they listen each other's voice, they listen each other's laughter. So there is a camaraderie, and that camaraderie is gone. Because somebody might hear, I can't even shake hand, I can't even talk to him, he can't recognize. We are in the Chambal area, so everybody is a Chambal man. Everybody used to dread, "Arey bhai, ye to Chambal ke hai." Now, so everybody in the country is a Chambal man. Face covered, you hardly see from the eyes. I remember there used to be small quizzes given the film actors' eyes. Can you recognize them? So today, if you have a quiz competition, ask your students and give 4 faces of MIT's faculty. Say, who is he? And that will be a very interesting competition. So things are changing. Things are so difficult. That's on lighter side. The point I said, the campus was very critical. We didn't realize that the campus had given so much. Now, when campus is not there, then we realize what we missed. There used to be a lot of cultural activity. Of course, you also had your own shares of activity. Of course, I was a part of IIT for many years. And IIT education was that the moment it's 5 o'clock, they are on the fields, they are on the the cultural hobby clubs, they are on the writing clubs, they are on the debate clubs, they are in dramatic clubs. So every child, whatever his virtues or strengths were or weaknesses, he will go between 5 to 7, which is called learning beyond class, which earlier used to be called extracurricular activity. In the current format, it became co-curricular activity. Other day I addressed this issue and I said, the future education as national policy desires would be 30% co-curricular activity. When we are talking about credit reduction from 200 to 160, there was a lot of hue and cry. And I can assure you, it is going to be 125. And 30% is going to be out of that co-curricular activity. I'll come to that point little later and see that whatever you teach today, only 50% you can. The rest will have to learn by student as choice, because that's what they want, a multi-instrument teaching. So coronavirus is finished. This ecosystem of coexistence, togetherness, learning from each other, walking in each other's offices, abusing each other, laughing with each other, fighting with each other. These are where the personalities are built. I recall once in a civil service interview, one of the experts asked a candidate, have you seen a blood ever on the road? The candidate was completely perplexed. He said, bloody, what is this question? That he's asking me, have you seen a blood on the road? Have you ever realized that an officer, that to a police officer, should be able to see these difficult situations day in, day out? If you are trying to become a doctor and if you can't handle the blood, then you can't survive. So these are challenging situations. And until you fight on the campus, you don't know how to handle the fighting groups. How to barter the peace between the group, peace in group. How to become leader. So campus itself made you learn the leadership. Leadership is not taught. Leadership comes when you visualize, when you interact, when you don't see faculty. You want this faculty to be removed, somebody else to come. In a new education policy, please understand, there are openings where a student would refuse to attend somebody's class and he says he may be permitted to do this course in XYZ college by such and such faculty. In fact, one of my very favorite teacher other day said, tomorrow what will happen? That a student will not register for programs. They will only register for courses. So they will register for a course which D.P. Agarwal teach, or Mr. Sagar teach, or Manjiri teach, or anybody teach. But they may not register for any other course. They say, I want to take this course in such and such college. You didn't realize this, because one of the options said in the new policy and education is the credit bank. And this credit bank is that from where I earn my money, bank does not ask me. All that I have to give my PAN card and my Aadhaar card, and I'm submitting this money, so this is accountable for income tax. So tomorrow the bank would be a national bank for a student. He can attract the credit from anywhere. Why would he come to MITS? He might come to attend one course in you where you got the best teacher. So tomorrow situation will be different. Then there is a tremendous unfortunatity about the future. And there are millions of students who are out of the class. So this leaves you in the post-pandemic situation. All of you were so pressed very hard to immediately transfer from face-to-face to online learning. You had no time, no preparation done. So as if 90% of places, what was the timetable available earlier, same timetable were taught, same lecture notes were used, whether they were ERP or Moodle or MOOC or whatever, nothing was changed. And we know, everybody knows that the way the course to be planned for online and the course to be done face-to-face is completely different. And I'll share some of the researches down the line. So you couldn't have done anything. But the biggest adjustment was done by whom? By the student himself. It was not done by you. You went with your lecture, gave your lecture, and that's it. You came back and told Professor Pandit, we have taken, then Professor Pandit is also happy because everybody is taking the lecture. You get this poor student. He had to adjust to a new, not face to face. He had to adjust with breakdowns in the internet connectivity. And it is he who has to sit an exam. You were not sitting an exam, were you? Were not. So the biggest risk was the student. And we all educational institute thought that we would talk to them, and nobody did talk to them. Nobody talked to them. I have not seen one single institution, including IITs, who decided to talk to students to find out a way out. I remember writing to, when this discussion was on, and UGC was trying to nail on the guideline, I had to write a 2-page note to Chairman UGC and Chairman ICT in some vice chancellors that please talk to these students. But nobody did talk to them. In fact, when there was a strike in Delhi University, even that was not taken positively. So that's a problem. The interesting thing has happened, which of course Indians don't see these things, that who are going to suffer? Students. And out of these students, who are the sufferers? Sufferers are those who are academically weak, those who are financially, economically weak. I was just trying to find out in one of the colleges when I spoke, I asked them, students, about 100 students, and asked them, please raise hands. How many students live in houses which are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom? People living in 3 bedrooms were about 24%. 56 to 60% lived in 2 bedrooms. In 2 bedroom house, you have to listen to your lectures. Where your mother is cooking, your younger brother and sisters are fighting, your father is interacting with somebody else, because at that time nobody is going out. So the house commotion, and I can vouch with you that IST chairman in his presentation in one of the webinar said his daughter, who's in the first year of medical, puts on the Zoom and does not sit.
Yes.
Because that's a challenge. And who suffered? Students are weaker. Okay? But then there are people who say, we have done the best. Please don't remain the fool's paradise. The virtual reality is limited. The virtual reality is a very thing. The world does not exist. All would have been the moon by now. Isn't it? The moon would have been our colony by now because I can create a virtual environment here. Virtual is virtual, it's not real. And we are real. We have a blood which is flowing in our veins. We have eyes, we have ears. We are not virtual. We are not virtual people. Interestingly, I also read a research recently. And that would be a challenge for all of you. And the research says the best research currently, which is repetitive, is done by robots. So most of the robots are used today for biosciences research. So my dear friends, some of you are going to do research in biosciences. You have to now get a competition with robots. Because they would do as commanded. Because biosciences research are 24 hours, 40 hours, reading is to be taken periodically every hour. And human being react very differently. And there are a lot of papers appearing. And then we say AI would do everything. If AI would do everything, what will you do? AI can design the course, unko bataye, in these 60 students, the last class, this is their profile, this is what they learned. In the next class, he'll accordingly plan a class. What will you do? So please understand what are the chances. The impact has been straightforward. If everybody thinks that MITS, the way MIT is affected, every college is affected the same way, it is completely wrong. USA study clearly indicate MITS is not affected. Your namesake. Because they were already leaders in these areas. The way they were doing their education was very different. And the platforms they used for online education were not Zoom. They were not on the Teams in blah, blah, blah. It is their own platforms, which they were using as a tool along with their face-to-face. In the investment which has been done in the infrastructure for IT is more than the physical infrastructure we do. And then it occurs a virtual labs are created. If you think by using a platform like Zoom and Invest, we can do, it's not possible. In fact, some of the UK university worked out and said, if we have to run about 2,000 courses, it is impossible. Everything will be clogged. So my investment onto such a network has to be enormously large. We have to carry simultaneously when everybody is studying. And once the national policy in education would come, a student will have a choice. So they are going to affect quality and affect everything. Library is not used because connectivity is missing. So we are completely missing the physical infrastructure. We are completely losing the IT infrastructure, and we are losing the other aspects. Let me look at it. I am just summarizing what we lost. The loss of classroom setups completely make us lose the closer interaction. Absence of close-knit learning environment and play. So no friendship built, no teamwork is done. Small institutions abroad are closing their shops because they can't afford the IT infrastructure required for doing 40% virtual laboratories. They can't afford taking exams, quizzes simultaneously, or when the full college is operating. Even if I take MITS, there are 7 departments, 2 sections each, student teaching simultaneously, quizzes operating, system will set down. The investment, if you calculate, is going to be huge. But then you also forget that every system of IT based have been marginalized by all kinds of hackings possible. Tomorrow, somebody will manipulate your results. Somebody will manipulate your question paper. You have done something else, you have put in something else. By the time it reaches student Y, it has taken a different shape. So it is not the question of your question paper being made, your teaching. It is somebody who is marginalizing. Somebody is hacking everything. When you remember, if PM's tweet data can be hacked, what cannot happen? So degrees would be marketed out. So somebody would say, I guarantee you will get topper in computer science. क्या होगा भाई तो? अभी तो आप एक नंबर के लिए झगड़ रहे, वो तो पूरा के पूरा मार्जिनलाइज हो जाएगा ना. So the investment on maintaining the sanctity of data and material, examination process, data results will be so expensive. I don't know whether there was any idea how much this is cost. In defense research today, to maintain secrecy, cost 40% of the budget of the product. So now you can imagine. And what would happen? It's already predicted that the country would have 6 monopolies only. And they would run all these. They will offer you all the services at cost. And if they think they will not manipulate, you are mistaken. Today, when you do NAC, There are 5 teams which look at all the NAAC data. So your data is at risk. I recently has closed down one of my account. Actually, I used to buy my medicine from a particular shop. Shop closed down. And can you believe? My whole data were transferred to the other teams. And they started poaching me. So tomorrow, each student data would be marginalized. And they will continue to ask me, तुम इतना दोगे तो तुम्हारे इतने मार्क्स आएंगे. शायद आप ये नहीं सोचे. और ये इतना बड़ा मार्केट होगा जिसको आप संभाल नहीं सकते कभी. अभी भी जब हमको इंटरनेट पे यूपीएससी को एग्जाम कराना होता है तो वी गो टू सम ऑफ दीस पीपल. So for us, Tatas do a test of prelim where 6 lakh people appear, which is on the 4th of October. We will have no capacity. And imagine now a national test is going to be committed to get admission to engineering and all higher education. So a school learning would be separate. The complete admission would be based on one common test done 2 times a year called SET exam. Then you can look at the kind of pressure this will have. You remember there was a lot of hue and cry about the new app was made, which was called a friend. You download this app and you know who are nearby Corona. You remember the court went to the court and court asked the question, is the marginalized? It's a fact that you are marginalized. And therefore, if you remember, the government brought down its own advertising of that particular app. Because they all are susceptible. So credits would be manipulated, banks would be marginalized, and if I earned 90 credits, suddenly my number has become 96 with A grades, and somebody's number becomes 75. अब चाहिए कोर्ट में कितनी बार जाएंगे? So that's a challenge. I don't think there will be a brain growth. Brain only works when there is a freshener. Brain only works when I talk to multiple people. Brain only challenges me when I see challenges. My challenge is a block, then I give you data later. Okay, I am giving you 3 researches here. In that will explain. This is the research conducted by Singapore Institute of Technology between not pre and post, it is between the pandemic period. 1,000 students responded. 60% of the students, 40% of the students said that there was absolutely no clarity. This is Singapore, mind you. The Singapore Institute of Technology is supposed to be one of the better institutions. It's not anywhere as Nanyang University, but Singapore Institute of Technology. They said, 60% of them said, 60% of them said remote lessons were clear, and rest of them said not clear. Okay, but they also said to clear doubts was very difficult. More than half the students reported that they struggled with self-discipline. And I give an example of IST chairman's daughter not finding the discipline to sit. In the class where you come physically, you at least, because teacher is there, all your friends are there, keep sitting, maybe blank. But there you just keep it on and go away. Even if you want to see your face, they have now created technology where your face will continue to be there. Then, findings show it is important to understand what students do if you want to go further teaching in that area. Some of the suggestions we can note down. They said, if you let the chat box open. Now, when you are teaching a chat box open, they don't listen to you. Please understand. But they find if the chat box is open, it allows us to interact, raise our doubts in questions. That means while teacher teaching, he is also looking at chat box and trying while teaching to answer some of the queries. So they find the chat box is important, which will fill the gap of questions being asked. And I don't know whether you use chat box enormously. The next they are saying, whatever you are taught, please leave this record and let me access at my time. Forget that. Don't take my attendance. You are online, I am online, I can do it, my choice. So I learn at my pace, you leave it and I learn. Learn now, maybe learn in the evening, maybe learn later after taking bath or maybe after dinner. Don't compel me to be. So the idea is that they are asking that, why are you online? If you all recall, when I was director to IIT Gwalior, my first year, Madhya Pradesh government got an award for a website which was Mandi rates. And this was not online, mind you. It was that I knew the rate after 4 hours. If the rate in Bhopal was this, in Rajnandgaon, after 4 hours, I would know what is the rate. So the total loss I have was of 4 hours. But the cost of my website became 1/10. So the moment you record your lectures and you leave that lecture as it is without teaching on class, that is what students want. Because important is not teaching. Please understand, even in the class, attendance is 50%. They only prepare for exam. They only prepare for question papers. So teacher's ingenuity is the way you record your lectures. After all, in MOOC, what do you do? MOOC is also recorded. NPTEL is also recorded. So why do you teach online? Tell me, why do you teach online? Research is clear. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It makes huge sense because I'm not under pressure. My network connectivity is not an issue. I can get it recorded, and this record is available on my college website or whatever, and he can access it. What is available online when I conduct an exam? And I can pre-announce that on such and such day, 20 minutes, there will be a quiz. So we are not worked on models. We are not done researches. Not a single research from India is available. And I'm quoting you, I'll quote you the third Indian research. But it is very clear that how perceptive students are. If you would have talked to them, you would have known what is required. Then they say, new tools, and they are nothing but AI tools, they try to identify students who are not able to learn. Okay? So they are able to identify weak students, and based on those weak students, I can plan before they fail. Am I ready with the AI tools? How would I know the weak students? I've already shown that under pandemic conditions, the sufferers are the weak students. And if I know whatever I know about Madhya Pradesh education, 50% are weak students. So what am I doing? For what purpose this education is about? If instead of I being online for teaching, if I was online to only answer questions, you remember the old time distance education. You remember that in old time distance education, lecture notes will come to us, lecture material will come to us, and once in a week, teacher would come face to face and answer our questions. We used to go to centers. So if, as a Professor Manjari, you only have a session where student only asks questions. You remember I told you a model once. The new model would be that the 10 minutes you tell what was in your lecture notes, and then questions starts. So there's no requirement for online teaching. Because you can't solve that complex problem. Simulation he has to do. In his home, he does not have tools because simulation requires software. And software are so expensive. College में मुश्किल से एक होगी, दो होंगे, 100 तो होंगे नहीं. So when you start using tools in engineering, the cost multiply. तो आपने नहीं देखा अभी तक. And you thought the way teaching has been done is good enough. It's not your mistake. It's a general problem, the globe. So tools will permit you to know weak students and take action a priori. Create features in your learning management system which can alert instructors whether student is logging or not. Number one, is he actually attending? And that will take cost. क्योंकि अभी तो आपका प्लेटफॉर्म है नहीं. जब आपका अपना प्लेटफॉर्म होगा, only then you will add these kind of tools. That I want to track somebody who is sitting there. Whether when I track it, and I thought most of you are in computer science, do a lot of picture imaging and things like that. There are techniques to do picture imaging and make a tool which can track a student, whether he's listening to you, whether he's taking interest, what is he doing? And I can assure you, if you do that, somebody will become a billionaire. And that would be the kind of cost which would be. Okay, let's look at the next research. This is a research from UK universities. 4,200 students participated. Again done the same time. 1 in 4, that's 25%, have said they do not feel they have the right access to online learning education. We are talking about our country, which I'll quote the data. They themselves, which are so advanced in already saying 25% of them felt that online access is not good quality. The next one says, unhappy students felt that what was needed to complete their studies on this. Unhappy, they said, needed to complete their study online, said it was because of being unable to access appropriate equipment or study space. Mind you, I talked about the space already. Or not being able to access physical resources, such as library, laboratory. And cited insufficient contact with the lecturers, absent of work Wi-Fi, and having no or limited online. Does it make sense, sir? So now you know for sure. These are the things which our own students will have problem. The survey when conducted in July, 55% students believe that they are not receiving good quality education online teaching. Similar student when were done in March, they said 65% were happy. That means as the time passes of pandemic, more and more students are getting unhappy and unhappy.
Yes.
That would mean that what you were doing earlier will have to change. Am I right?
Yes, for sure.
And you have to do a course correction continuously. Students also believe, and please look at my second paragraph. There I have mentioned clearly what are they missing. That's very crucial, and we don't appreciate this in country. Students are also not happy with assessment. And this is a question of UK, mind you. UK assessment is not like ours. It is a teacher-based assessment completely. And 90% did not feel that they got the right assessment done. And some of them said that this poor assessment has finished their career in future. And therefore, they could have gone to the best of university because the way you gave them 4 marks less, they missed the best of university. If you wanted to do a program in aerospace where cutoff was 94%, because you gave him 90%, he's missed. So there's so much in this dissatisfaction among students on the way you are trying to do. And the way we did was horrendous. We gave marks just like that. Only half the student survey felt they have received support from faculty. Imagine how poor it is. 50% believe that they did not get support from the faculty. But that's tremendous, isn't it? Okay, now let's come to the Indian scene. India has adopted online learning, but they're tremendous. And which is a fact, 45 crore people over total population are connected with e-learning, which is nothing but 1/3. So only 30% are connected. Reliability is not an issue here yet. People residing in rural areas are still very much deprived of the facility. But nobody listens to them. Who listens? Virtual classrooms are not only dependent on e-lectures, but also requires one to have access to the content and online study material and practice sheets. Where are they? And that's where we lag behind. And we have no digital platform with the institutions. Whatever government might create, they've created NK and they might create something else. But they don't realize the users on it and the cost of using it, which will become. So now you realize that if not all, 30% people are suffering. And most of the sufferers are weaker students. So therefore, the new normal is going to be very different. Distancing, wearing masks and taking temperatures, sanitizing spaces. And mind you, the spaces to be sanitized every 3 hours. So class के बच्चे बाहर खड़े होंगे, कमरा सफा हो रहा होगा, डेस्क भी साफ होगी, सब कुछ होगा. ये सब कहाँ खड़े होंगे किसी को नहीं पता. Learning online, use of tubes, YouTube, short films, webinar is going on. This will continue. Difficulty I mentioned to you, I have to correct, I have to improve, I have to model, I have to redevelop models, I have to do it for myself. Each institution has to do this. Virtual labs have to come. Expensive commodity, but has to be brought. Online internship has to be used where it is possible. Where it's not possible, something has to be done. Online assessment requires a lot to be done. I've already mentioned to you the challenges. There's a lot of concern about health and safety. I said universities want to open, but they couldn't open. And when they open, they again closed down. And if I heard Manjiri right, Panditji would come, but 10 days he's ill. 5 more faculty would be ill. If he comes in contact, he'll have problem with another 100, 200. So the way it quickly spreads. So even one person, if it's ill on campus, I have no business to open my campus. So health is an issue. In fact, Delhi schools are open and they are now saying the government is not taking the risk. They are saying if the parents say that the child can go to the class and talk to the faculty, they send their own risk. So by doing that, the risk-taking ability of the government and the institutions has been passed on to the students, and the teacher, and the parents. So for what purpose is education? No parents will lose a son or a daughter. Would they like to lose? I don't think they would like to lose. Working from home has saturated. I don't know whether you've seen a curve. Have anybody seen a curve of last 6 months versus the motivation of working at home? Anybody? Can you hear me? No. Now this curve is like a Gaussian curve. In the month of July, it has shown the peak. And after July, nobody wants to work in home. They are missing their friends, they are missing their bosses, they are missing. Interestingly, one of the points made was that while at home, I spend quality time, but I'm missing my private time. Can you imagine this comment? That each of us are missing our quality time, which is my personal time, which I used to get when I go out of home. So people are even sick. So children are also saying, I don't have my quality time because father is here. Because children, when are at home, like to make noise, like to play the games the way they want. But when father is here, how can they make? So there's no free time. So everybody is sick of it. And industry is very easy. Industry is saying, I'm spending less. But the difficulty is that in Bombay city alone, the spaces which companies used to have, they have all been left by them. And there are no takers for the rent. So people who invest in properties are going with a bag and ball. So on one end, the company might benefit. Maybe after another 6 months, they also realize that being together was important. Today it's looking quite okay because cutting cost is important now. But it has an impact. And I've already said each university wants to come early. I leave at that and I'll come to my probably last 2 slides. I think I'll skip an NEP at this time.
So we'll hear you on NEP also at some later time.
Maybe some other time I'll take a
Yes,
NP,
sir. Yes, sir.
a practical view, but
Definitely.
this will actually make it more clumsy. I've given you the examples wherever it was possible. But I like to draw attention to this slide. Please take your attention clearly. It's a survey where 30,000 students participated, undergraduate, 15,000 postgraduate, done in the University of Berkeley. The University of Berkeley is one of the top universities in the world. It's a government university. It's not a private university. It is found. Now this you must keep in mind. Please keep in mind. Found that 35% of undergraduate and 32% of postgraduate students were screened positive for major depressive orders. Did you ever consider this? And 39% of both of them had a positive anxiety disorder. It's a huge, huge number. So now you can see the online doesn't help you. Working from home doesn't help you. As a human being, everybody wants to be together. You see, there are days when I want to definitely see one of my friends. I can't see him except on the website. But I'm losing that vibration. I'm using that hello which he creates when he's around. I spoke, you remember, I know some of you know, I spoke to about 15,000 people of AMU alumni. And when I finished my talk, the kind of comments I had, and many of them said, sir, that it would have been so good that we were seeing you in flesh and blood. We have seen you elsewhere. So they want to look at the teacher flesh and blood. And they want to be reassured that if he's so good in himself in health, I can also be good in health. If he can smile, I can see a smiling face. So teacher presence, the system presence, the other student presence make life to be better. 39% is a huge number for anxiety disorder. The other difficulty is that these 39% belong to low income group. Because an American study the student with colors, that means Hispanic, women and binary students, LGBT, you know, there are a large number of them, they all suffered. That means I'm weaker, I'm already a sufferer, I'm further suffering. So I completely finished. In another survey, prevalence of depression among postgraduate and professional students is 2 times higher in 2020 compared to 2019. And technical education is a professional education. You can imagine by thumb rule is going to be 2 times in the 2019 data. While the prevalence of anxiety is 1.5 times higher this year. Okay, research also found that students in art, humanities, communication, and design fields were particularly vulnerable to mental health problems. Almost 63% of postgraduate students in English language and literature tested positive for anxiety, while 51% tested positive for depression. Social and behavioral science students were also more likely to suffer from mental health and disorder. The point I wanted to show this slide, that none in our country even try to look at these aspects of happening to the students. I'll close with 3 slides, one after the other. Since you asked me the question, what is there for technical education? I therefore want to bring you the best of the world. And you can keep these slides as a benchmark for everybody. It's a benchmark for institution, it's a benchmark for faculty, and it's a benchmark which you like to do. Okay? Now what MIT Pride? If we open the MIT website, and this is MIT of US, I wish you would have been the same MIT. It creates a culture of learning by doing. So the focus of complete engineering is that you want to do everything by learning. Complex the problem, they want to solve it by doing themselves. So the focus on learning while doing. Okay? So this is one benchmark. The second, train your student to combine analytical rigor with curiosity, playful imagination, and an appetite for solving the hardest problem in service to the society. This is what was said in CBSE. This is what was said in student-based learning. And this is also currently said in the new education. If you look at what kind of graduates they want to produce, these are precisely 6 words there. They want to have a student who has a lot of rigor, critical capability of rigor, not just fitting a formula, curiosity. And they said innovation, but MIT says playful imagination. That means I have a joy while I'm learning. But where is the joy in learning in our institutions? It's a painful activity of learning. MIT wish to convert learning to a joyful activity, playful activity. Our undergraduates will work shoulder to shoulder with faculty. Faculty won't say that I am all knowing, you don't know anything. They work together to solve problems in a greater challenge of the world. They try to solve questions together, assumptions made together. So teacher produces one solution, student can produce second solution, and they come down to an optimal solution. And what kind of PG and postdoc student they have? They say, we are the best which are available in the world. So now the benchmark is clear. So future technical education, which is also part of national policy of education, would aims towards the first 3 things. The fourth, the science and engineering, architecture, humanities, social sciences, and management. Whatever subject we take will offer excellence across the. And when I'm talking of multidisciplinary institutions in future, as under national policy in education, excellence is the only word used. So there would be no space for being number 2. Now that's a tremendous challenge, impossibility. And how do I make? In my view, they say, we also are pioneer digital education group. If you remember, the first MOOC courses emanated from MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Pennsylvania. MIT is quite top in this. And they have a large use platform with you. And they've been using this to offer flexible access to students. But very rigorous content, and content which is matching with learner's age. Now that was another point which I forgot to tell you. That as the national policy education is going to open the doors of students leaving every year and coming back, the age profile of students would change. There could be a possibility in a given class, there would be a student of 18 years and there would be a student of 40 years. And therefore, learning material would become different. So that's my point number 1. Second point, what faculty would do. So that is one benchmark. There's a benchmark for faculty. Faculty is the one who set global standards of excellence in their discipline. I leave it to your thought. I won't say much. Not all of us are in that line, including me. But what is said, can we make best effort to be in that league? That means I am pursuing a global excellence in the discipline in the subject area in which I am. The next is very, very important. Whatever the best you are in the world, which is the number one, MIT says that all of these are pioneering scholars who has a tremendous love for teaching. I was writing a report for AICTE 3 months ago. Someone asked me, can you tell us how to create a romance among teachers for education? And it had taken me so much of heart to even think, how do I create a love and joy in a teacher? Teacher thinks it's only a job, which I'm here, and I get money. Till we don't create that joy, and joy comes with freedom, and joy comes with a free environment. Most of us have seen some films based on Jungle Book histories, and that says life survives when you are free. And therefore, joy will only come when you are free. And each freedom comes with responsibility. So you can imagine that the best of the teacher in the world, best of the research of the world in MIT teaches. He does not say, I will not teach. He teaches first year and he competes. For example, scholar number 1, scholar number 2, scholar number 3, the best in the world, offering a course to 3 different groups. And students choose 1, 2, and 3. And do you know that in some of the courses, the student fees is fixed based on who is teaching. If teacher number 1, who is the best in teaching, whose 5-year record is the best feedback by students, get highest fees paid by student for his subject. And that is where I agree with my friend when he says student will not register for discipline, they will register for course. And they'll go to the best of the teacher, which is what Gandhiji wanted. Deeply engaged in practice. So you are engineer, involved in engineering practice. That means you are teacher, but a practicing engineer. They are able to push the wall in deeper, so that newer ideas emerge. I will design, I'll push the boundary of design to a level where a new idea will emerge. So I work in practice like an architecture person. Architecture people has a course required. They must be an architect working as well as a teacher. Similarly, in doctors, you remember, in medical profession, he is also a doctor and a teacher. MIT wants all of their faculty in engineering to be practicing engineer and also professors of research, which we don't have. Then, many of the faculty, in fact, it is a requirement that each faculty of MIT would at least work in one interdisciplinary lab. And there are many interdisciplinary labs. So there would be a mechanical engineering working with medical college. There would be one mechanical engineering working with chemical sciences. There would be one electronics engineer working in chemistry. There would be one working electronics engineer working in some other area. So that interdisciplinarity, 1%. Then computing is across the subject. MIT has 5 schools, includes art and science, and all blah blah. Computing is across. So everybody is good in using computing to solve the best of the problem, to do the research. So it is not the domain of computer science people that they can do. Everybody can use computing science tools and solve the problem. And the benchmark is 60% of fund is generated by faculty through his research. We are not even 1%. What is going to be teaching learning? That will be my last slide. Our campus is a workshop. Please now understand. They are not saying classroom. They say our campus is a workshop for inventing the future. And we all are apprentices. Learning from each other as we go and learn together. Remember I said shoulder to shoulder learning. And that how beautifully they have converted. There's no classroom. It's a workshop where we all are inventing. And we are apprenticeship in that workshop and trying to get the best. Because we like to make things and we like to make an impact. We develop iconic courses, emphasize on designing, inventing, collaborating, and translating student expertise to reach the world. Of course, in MIT, there are so many programs, very specialized programs, and you can find out. And these are the programs which make them to think out of the box. So each faculty thinks out of the box for the next year. So the teaching methodologies are different. Teaching courses are different. Contents are different. And everything changes every year. The student can pursue virtually infinite co-curricular and extracurricular projects. And that could be anywhere in the city of Boston, where MIT is. In fact, they have another university in Boston, University of Boston at Massachusetts, and two more other universities. So they can work anywhere. Please understand. So there's a meta university, innovation hubs in and around the world, honeycombed with legendary laboratories in dozens of maker spaces. A wind tunnel, a research nuclear reactor, glass lab, and many such facilities which exist. Some of it we have not even heard. So if I look at, when I was a Gwalior director my third year, and city people arranged and they said, sir, can we go science congress here? I said, single reply to Gwalior I'll not be able to get. But if you are ready to work with together, I can give you a model where we can multiply each other and we can get science congress. I think the future is that we utilize each other's facility. We cannot afford the future facilities the kind which our students are requiring. We'll have no budget. So if we have talked to, and the government says in the National Policy Education that there will be no difference between private and the government. Equal funds through research will be available for them as well as the government. Fees will be fixed accordingly. I give you the benchmark. I wish you the best. You gave me a chance to speak. Thank you, Anjali. Thank you, my friends. All of you, and I always love you. Thank you.
Thank you all the participants also for being there with questions. Thank you, sir.
Bye. Bye-bye.